Hey, what's up, guys? So, I wanted you guys to see the score first because this was really a different trial. And my opponent had a lot on defense, and he was still able to do a very good job on offense. So, let's just go through this room by room, and let's just go through the stats again just to double check what's going on here with me and my opponent. So, this is my opponent, and you can see it's 80 mil, about 3.4 mil STP. And this is me, and I'm closing in on 90 mil and getting close to 3.4 mil STP. So in room one, I went in with Cabal, OR, and Vulture. So let's just take a look to see how this plays out. And so Cabal is pretty fierce. You know, I had not used this team much, so the guys helped me out a bit. And basically, you know, you can see I'm going in on Scroll, and then when Rogue taunts, you are going in her until her taunt is lifted, and then I go back in on Scroll. And you can see how much damage is done by this team. And this has mostly just been the Cabal team. OR didn't even get a chance to go. So for my room one, he went in with Gamma. And we know how this fight probably drug out. So it's a long fight. And then he goes back in with War Dogs. And that's how he cleans it up. And so he has high diamonds on his Gamma and his War Dogs. So it just goes to show the power of Infinity Watch even in room one. So for room two, he had Spider Society in there. And I didn't want to take any chances, so I went in with APOC and Hive Mind. And so let's just take a look to see how this goes. And so this is a punch down, and so it makes it a little bit safe. When you see it play out, it made me wonder if my team is big enough to go in without APOC. But APOC does bring a lot to the table, even though he didn't really take a turn. So I don't think I would risk it because I think it can still end badly. And so I had on defense, I was going with this Rogue Extreme. And you can see he went in with Pegasus. And Pegasus is listed on the counter sheet. So I wasn't sure he'd go in with Pegasus. I thought he'd try to do something a little bit more elaborate. But you can see here, Pegasus is a punch up on this team. So that's really good information to have is if you're going to build up your Spider Society, and then you'll have all your other raid teams available for whatever's in this room. But let's just take a look to see how this plays out. So he goes in with the basic, and C-Roll made some comments the other day saying just use their basics and use their ults. Or I suppose that was just with Rescue, don't use her special. But let's just see how this plays out, because I'm wondering if he uses any of the specials. And he went to the basic. See, the basic gives a lot of ability energy, so this is how they speed up, and they're able to just take so many turns. Okay, so I don't know, that might have been Rescue Special. But you can see the amount of damage that's been done. You can see how fast they go using their basics, and it really ignites them. So if you use the basic the first 2 or 3 turns, it looks like it just gives them a huge speed advantage. So I want you guys to take a look at room 3. We're gonna go through the replay. And this is probably where I lost the match. And it's a learning experience, because at the end of the day, I had guys give me advice, and sometimes the advice is just to squeeze by, squeeze by. But there was really no reason to. And then as Updog helped me, because he was the last to help me, and then he probably helped me a lot at the end there with some of the things he suggested, especially with room 4. Had I just gone in with this scroll first, then this would have been I would have won. And so I'm just saying this to you guys. Sometimes you really got to go with your first mind, and you got to look at past results of other players. And that's why I'm showing you this, because this using Black Cat was a theory, but it just was a train wreck. And perhaps going in with Echo, it could have worked, but I've seen that fail too. And I've also seen just straight Masters of Evil win on this team. Not mine in particular, but just other people that have run this. For the most part, though, I think the safe move is when you go in with Scroll and Masters of Evil, and then it's really pretty smooth. But let's just take a look, because there was an error in here. You can see how my health is pretty low. A key mistake that I made, and so that you guys can benefit from not doing that. So the general advice is to go in on Forge, and so kill Forge first, and you got to stick with that. And so when you're getting in here, and then Updog made a good point. He was like, go in on Nightcrawler, get some damage, so Nightcrawler and Sunspot come down a bit. After I start going a little bit, I think it's pretty important to make sure they're all coming down a bit evenly, and then you got to get back in on Forge. You want to make sure Forge dies. And so when Nightcrawler revives here, I'm worried about the damage he's going to do. But right here is where I should have just started going for Forge, even though Nightcrawler has a decent amount of health. I'm going to get a chance to use Scroll's ult, and I targeted Nightcrawler. I don't think that's a problem. But you see how the rest revived, and so this is where I should have killed Forge and not Nightcrawler. So Nightcrawler gets killed. I didn't expect him to get killed. I forgot about all the assists. But he got killed, and then Forge goes, and Nightcrawler comes back. And so this is where things get sketchy, because I had full health. Had I gone with Forge first, I'm not saying I would have finished with full health, but I would have probably finished with more health than what you see in the end results. Fortunately, I do have a strong Scroll, so that he still carried me, because you can see where he is with his strength. And I do have a 2-diamond Kang, so that helped. But, it was just not played well. And so this was an error that I won't make again. And so my opponent went in on this room 3, and I've shown you guys this before, so most likely, judging by his score, this team didn't take a turn. And so just looking at the results, it's just not benefiting me, because he's not going in with anything else but straight Masters of Evil. And that's not what I was hoping for running this team in this room. In room 4, I went in with Secret Defenders. This was a benefit to me, and this is something Updog knows. Like, hey, you got Secret Defenders. Had we noticed this earlier, it could have changed the layout of my entire plan of attacks. I'm not saying I could have one-shot it, but I would have only dropped one room for sure, and it would have just been really different. So that's something to think about too when you're getting advice and you're double checking. Make sure you kind of still weigh out all your best options and go through your teams again to make sure that you are putting your best foot forward. But let's just take a look so you guys can see how this plays out. What Updog suggested is just go all in on Black Knight, and pretty much Black Knight has the taunt most of the time, so there's not much else that I can really do, but that is the best approach. And so it just eventually he gets worn down, especially after Black Cat goes, and I used her special there, and that was huge. So now Photon is coming in, and this is where the real damage takes place, because you can see Robbie he set them up with his attack, but he's stunned. And I think going in with Nova was a good addition, because that helped keep things flowing. And so here is where it's worth having some investment on Photon. I use Photon with A-Force and War. That's why I have her so big. And then I took her into DD6, and I plan to take her into DD7. And so this will keep, for me, this will keep her relevant because she'll be G19. So my room 4 was Quicksilver and Black Order. And they did what they were supposed to do. It's just that, 8360 is still ideal for this team because you can see that the damage done is on their health side. But at the end of the day, I don't know if this is the best team to go forward with for the remainder of the season because guys are aware they can go in with their new warriors and still just knock this out. They've seen enough footage and they know how to play it. So let's just play it so you guys can see how he goes about it, and you can add this to your notes or what you feel like you need in order to clear this room if you see it. And so he goes in on Thanos, which, because I don't have Cole, makes it pretty easy. And I was hoping that Corvus and Proxima would get a chance to do some damage. They didn't. Now, obviously, I haven't seen this, but obviously Quicksilver is the one going to do some damage. And so I'm not quite sure why he saved Quicksilver to the end here. But, clearly it just gave me a chance to bring his efficiency down some because he moved that way. And my thought is if you run this team, Cole is probably the better addition to have because it just gives you a little bit more life or chance to have Quicksilver live versus the route that I went. So in room 5, I went in on his Superior 6 planning a double tap. And so I just want you guys to see how the focus was to go in on this really big lizard. And then, of course, the cleanup was new warriors. And I didn't need Weaver. I thought I might, but I didn't need her. And I can just run that for you so you can see that too. So once they go, and I thought that Lizard would go first. Maybe it's a combination of team I have, and that's why he didn't. And you see Vulture, of course, he's on defense, so that's why he didn't go first. But you can see how much damage is done. Now the team survives. Doom is in the yellow, so that helps. And we'll see what happens. You'll see what happens next as far as once Doom gets pushed, how I can at least try to go all in on Lizard. The key thing is, even though the zombie juggernaut is gone, they're all still level 100. And I just went ahead and made the investment for war, but it's paid off here. And Hela, I guess when she gets to 100, because when she was like 98 or 97, it would have been sketchy, and I think she would have died. Maybe when she was 99. Just that one level has made such a difference where she could hold on, because it's really just her and Zombie Iron Man. And even though the AI is going for the Gregs, she does get hit from time to time, and you can see she's just steady healing up. And I was able to take Lizard out. And so that was the goal, was to get Lizard out. Now, since I was still alive, I was going to go ahead and go for the next lowest, which was Doc Ock. But it wasn't necessary to kill Ock now that Lizard's gone. So in my room 5 was I just wanted to ride out the rest of this week trying out the Spider Society in room 5. And so he's aware of it. And that's why this was the only week to really try this, because now guys understand how powerful this team is even in room 5. And I expected him to use his Cabal on my room 6. He said, no, I'm using my Cabal on your room 5. And so he went in and with Zombie Juggernaut and Hela. And, he wrecked this team. So let's just take a look to see how it plays out. Yeah, so Zombie Juggernaut went in and did what he was supposed to do, and he targeted the little girl, Penny. And but the Peter was able to heal them up. I believe that was Peter does that. And so that's something to keep in mind. So what I did with Peter is I made him a B5 healer. And I think that's helping them. And hopefully that will help them even more in room 2. But it was an experiment. It did well the first 2 trials because guys weren't aware of how to beat this team or how strong they are in room 5, and now they are. So going going forward, I don't know that it would be a good idea to try to do this in room 5 anymore. And you can see the power of Hela with the Cabal. So for room 6, Pat, he helped me with structuring the teams to go in with, and he suggested to go in with Mysterio. Now, I had no idea Mysterio was a counter to this with APOC in there, but it went extremely well, so I just want you guys to see it. And so Updog helped me with most all of these attacks, especially this one. And of course, the general advice was, hey, go in all in on APOC. And so that's what I did. So APOC is targeted every time, even though a lot of these guys may be Raider. I still think that there could be a little bit more damage done when you target the tune that you're going to hit, and you can see how much damage is getting done to APOC. So it's not long before he's dead, and then you can see how this team with Mysterio can take off. It's timely to take off. So they were designed to counter the secret defenders, in that when Mysterio gets a chance to use his blind, it's just before Photon really goes in and before Robbie really goes in with their ults. And so that just really cripples the team. And so now with APOC gone, which APOC never took a turn, and so that just goes to show the power of Mysterio, because his summons, just the basic tap just really just slowed him down and just did damage enough to where he was neutralized. And that was a 3-diamond apocalypse. And so on my defense with room 6, this really caught me by surprise. Now, under normal circumstances, I'm not really upset with the idea of this team being this low, because he went in and he countered them, which I want to see the counter myself, because now I definitely am keeping Quicksilver on offense. He countered them using Quicksilver, Big Time, and Tangle Web 2. And then he threw Emma in there, I guess, to get a little extra speed. And it's just the fact that he cleared it. Even though it's an 8350, which is like a terrible score, this team is basically a brand new team going against all old tunes. So let's just see how it plays out and see what he did to get this room cleared with a one-shot. Okay, so targeting, of course, Black Knight. You know, you Big Time, 99, and then Weaver. Now he's incapacitated, and this just looks like a great team to have. I don't think it matters what room you have them in. You know, you can go in and probably win with this team. So I'm going to save this team, and this placement order is not what I expected, with Emma in the middle. And of course, he knew 99 was going to die, so he had 99 on the edge. But it just goes to show that he was able to handle business, and quite naturally, Emma is making this where it gives them the advantage they need to go in and finish this team off. So she's definitely a vital part, and that makes me know that she has to stay on offense. Once again, the important thing to remember here is that every little move you make makes a difference. And you can see here, his score is 756. Mine is 352. 400 more points than I'd had a 772, and that would have been Y'all would have won. Now, I'm not extremely disappointed in this. It's because it was a good learning experience. There was a lot to learn from what my opponent did. And so when I go into making my defense, it encourages me to make my defense much stronger, even to the point of saying, hey, I could put Superior 6 on defense. I probably won't, but it just makes me know, hey, go in and make your defense as strong as possible at this point of the season, because now we can, with Spider Society, being able to go into room 2. And it frees up, it gives us another room, perhaps for many of us, a room that we were missing to make our defenses stronger. So, in chatting with Desir, and he actually lost his last trial too, but I think for me, looking at how he lost and then what he's doing with his defense, and then looking at how I lost, looking at what I'm going to do my defense, it's pretty clear to go ahead and make these adjustments, because I don't know who's seeing Updog's stream. I don't actually even know who's taking a look at my videos at the time to see if they can see what's going on in my defense. And I don't know if that really even matters, because at the end of the day, you just don't know who you're going to get matched up with, even though you're in a matchmaking. But I think once I've run a defense, a particular defense long enough, which is out of time in room 6, then most guys know out of time is going to be in room 6. And so that's going to get changed up. So the first thing we're going to do here is overhaul this defense. And so just going off of what I've faced and the difficulty that I had, my thought is to go in with the Tangle Web Gambit Rogue Black Knight in room 1. I may take 99, because he's at level 95. I may take him up to level 100, but I don't know that that's the best move for him at the moment. It's just a thought. But for the most part, this team was very difficult for me to beat when I did not use APOC. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. But I think going in with like Superior 6 APOC is the for sure win of some type of Cabal team. So that's the thought process there. The same thing to be true with this Spider Society. Now, I don't know that this is the best placement order yet. I gotta really check the chat and what's going on. But I think that guys are gonna most likely lean towards some type of scroll or APOC counter, which will be like Hive Mind Scroll, Hive Mind APOC. This basically did pretty well for me in room 5. I think I had it like this. And I think what I've seen guys do is something more like this. So I'm not sure how I'm going to work it. But at the moment, because of what I've seen in the replays, I think this did okay. So we're gonna start off with this until I can at least get Penny to 4 red, and then maybe I'll make some changes. And room 3, you guys saw that just today. This is a difficult room, and I've got it pretty strong when you look at it. It's 2.9. And what I noticed that my opponent did is, Nightcrawler could be a bit stronger, because I think I have him on 4. What is it? Blue 4 with the Skirmisher. And what he did is he made everybody else Striker. And so I said, well, let me just go in and just change him to Skirmisher. He doesn't have to be, as big and strong as possible. He's going to be Nightcrawler, and he'll do what he does. And so I said, let's just try that and see if that works, if that had anything to do with how difficult it was for me in that room with him being on Skirmisher. And so that's the game plan here. Same placement order. And the thought process is most guys will, I'm sure Cabal could beat it. I haven't seen the versions of Cabal, but a Cabal or, the Scroll Masters of Evil, which I use. And like I said, I'm sure guys can go on Masters of Evil or with Echo and be very skilled and precise and get this counter. I just think that most guys won't be able to do it. And so, not efficiently. And so they'll lean towards one of the top tunes like the Scroll or the APOC or Cabal. And those first three rooms kind of pull those main teams, including Superior 6. And that's the idea of how this lays out. Now, of course, guys can come in, they can do some different things, but that's the game plan with the first 3, so to make it tougher. Then, as I looked at going into room 4, originally I thought to go in with the out of time 4-piece with Doom. No, the out of time 4-piece with Dorm. And I said, no, I want Dorm in room 3. And so I said, what can I put in here? And I couldn't think of anything. So I said, well, let's just go with Darkhold. And piece by piece, I said, Darkhold is not going to do it. So I pulled Scarlet Witch, put in Red Hulk. I was like, yeah, guys have seen this before. They'll remember the counters. And I said, well, let me put in Hulk. At least he makes Red Hulk stronger. And I said, well, who do I pull? And I thought about pulling Strange. I said, well, just pull Wong. Even though I was losing a lot with Wong, he's only G17. So what is he really doing for this room, this team, at this stage of the game for me in CC? And so as I started thinking about that, I said, well, do I really need Strange? Because guys are going to find a way to stun him. He's not going to get his ult off in most cases. And so that's when the idea came in for putting in Archangel. And so as I looked at it, I said, well, it's only Morgan there, and she's getting the benefit from having Angel and Red Hulk in there. So maybe now Agatha's not needed. So I had to give it some thought. I said, well, who can come in here and help this team? And so it turned out to be the Jubilee. And so, they got Jubilee. Let me change her. We're gonna make her a B4 skirmisher, and we'll leave Morgan as striker. Yeah, so we'll do this. So the main thing is that maybe she can get them to do some assists. Maybe some assists can take place with Morgan and Archangel somehow. I don't know. We'll see. We'll look at the replays. But the main thing is that she does create assists, and then she does have a blind on her first turn. And so maybe those things can make this team a little bit different, something unique, and guys have to go in and really think about how they're going to counter, because at the end of the day, they're all G18 level 100, and so they have some girth to them. And so, of course, room 5 is Infinity Watch. Infinity Watch is Infinity Watch. And then with room 6, it's like, okay, you're going to keep you out of time in here, because what else can you do with them? You need Ghost Rider in room 6 anyway. That makes a difference. I don't want to use the Ghost Rider I have with Secret Defenders, and I've already gone against that version anyway. It's not that impactful to have the 2 Ghost Riders together. So I said, well, how can I make this better? Because this team needs a pre-taunt. And I couldn't think of a pre-taunt that was really built up enough to make a difference. And then it dawned on me, I said, well, Tiger, she's not a pre-taunt, but she'll go fast and then she'll taunt. And maybe this team will get a chance to do some of the things they were designed to do. Maybe they won't. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, this is the 4-piece and Tigra. And if they can pull anything decent, say that even the counter that was used, then when I had Black Knight in here, then they've served their purpose. So this is the defense. And what I want to show you guys is what my offense still looks like. And actually, there's some new changes. Cabal, of course, is interchangeable. The placeholders are, of course, Vulture and Omega Red, which I think this team will do fine just about anywhere. And that's why I took Omega Red to 100. And maybe Vulture is the mainstay as I move forward with whatever other piece or whatever other tune I put on here. But at the end of the day, that's Cabal. And I like the idea of big time with Quicksilver and Emma. So I said, let me go with that. And so I'm thinking about that. I said, well, wait a minute. You've got this team sitting here. And this is when I had this team set before I had Tangle Web in here. And in chatting with Updog, he said, well, I did a similar thing with the 700K punch up using Eternals. I said, well, that's right. I remember that. And so I said, let me put Eternals in here because I'll find a way to make this work in some situations. I don't think it was I don't remember what the Black Knight team was. And so, of course, you got to be selective. But this is a team. This is a team that can work. And then you got Superior 6. You've got the Hive Mind with APOC. That's going to probably be most common for the room 2. I've got my new Warriors. And I don't think I'll get Cloak to G18 this season, but he's much stronger with those couple pieces on there than he was at 16. And so that has made a difference so far. Then we have Masters of Evil. I already loaded in Scroll, even though you're not necessarily going to use Scroll there, but I've loaded in Scroll just in case I need Scroll there, or just to not forget about Scroll, because of course he can go anywhere. Secret Defenders, same thing. Strange can be subbed out for anybody. And then as I was seeing how useful Undying was, just to get rid of Lizard with Nova, it's like, well, there's a use. Of course, Nova can always go in Secret Defenders, but there's a use. So I said, let me think about that. And I don't have any place for Doom, so those are placeholders. Maybe that team can be used somehow. Because it's getting clear that I'm going to have to start going in planning to double tap, and looks like a great team to double tap with. Get that first strike in and do the damage I need to do, and probably a good cleanup team. So we'll see how that works out. And then of course Bifrost and Pegasus are different type of room 2 counters, just in case of whatever we see in there. Okay, so that's it for this one, guys. I don't think there are going to be much changes to my defense. I think this is pretty much going to be solid enough to where I feel comfortable that this is stronger than what I had, and I have a strong offense. And hopefully, Penny can come up to a 4 red in a short amount of time. I guess really, Penny and POG would be great. But anyway, guys, chat later.